Right, guys, please watch this to the end because it might be one of the most important videos I've made. And yes, it's going to be a bit lengthy, but we're going to go into detail about where I think we are in the market. We're going to talk about what's going on with Bitcoin at the moment. Do I think it's going to go up? Do I think it's going to go down? We're also going to look at where I'm looking to get back in. We're going to look at the on-chain data. We're going to look at what the smart money are doing. We're going to look in detail about the Bitcoin metrics and lots of different cool stuff here and just an overall view of where I am right now in this market and my personal strategy, right? It's not about being right. It's not about being wrong. It's about, do you have a strategy? What's your plan? If we go up to 150K, do you have a strategy? If we go down to 40K, do you have a strategy for that? Okay, because if we do come down to 40K, if you think alts are down now, you're in for a surprise if this is your first cycle. So big up Rob. Rob had me on his channel. If you're not subscribed to Digital Asset News, go over there, subscribe to the channel. A legend in the space, really great content. And he had me on his channel, I think about a week ago, and we were talking about Bitcoin's current price and where I expected it to go. Just have a listen to this. We'll quickly look at Bitcoin, and then I'll tell you why I'm kind of bullish. We're breaking through 95. Look at this, man. 95.4K. Absolutely beautiful. So we've been in this falling wedge for some sort of time now. This is on the weekly as well. Okay. So we've been in this falling wedge for a very, very long time. And I've been waiting for this wedge to break out. I love to trade falling wedges. The majority of the time, they go straight back to the top of the wedge, guys, over and over again. We had the same exact thing happen back at the start of the bull run. We traded this exact wedge. This was back in May 23. Falling wedge, pretty similar pattern, right? Came out from a massive rally, you know, out from a massive pump, pretty much from the bear market. What happens when everyone makes a lot of money? They start to take some profits off the table. And then we had this lovely wedge and we were waiting for the break. And then we got the break and then bang, we went straight up. The thing with these wedges is when you break out, they usually move up very, very fast. And they usually go exactly to the top of the wedge. I have some bad news for you, though. They usually come straight back down to the start of the wedge as well. So I am planning to take profits at all-time high, and I am definitely planning to take a short position when we go up to all-time highs. Don't forget, guys, I'm a swing trader, you know, I'm fully aware that we could just continue to scale up. That's absolutely fine, but I'm, you know, planning to take profits and enter a short position around here. The cool thing about this trade is you see the yellow line selling make waves approaching. Okay, guys, so as you can see, we pretty much hit that exact target of 105 on BTC. So congratulations if you took that trade. We actually bought some of the dips down here. We've been trading it up and down all the way. I did take some shorts at resistance when we got up to these kind of levels, but then I flipped along again. So we come right all the way back up to the top of the wedge. Now, this happens so many times, as I've just mentioned. You come out of these falling wedges, you hit the top of the target. And if we look at what happened the last time we came into this wedge all the way back down here, what happened is it kind of, actually, it might be easier if I just pin this over here. We actually stayed here for a very, very long time. Okay, so I know we're currently in this, we're going higher. Some people are saying we're going lower. I say the majority are bullish. I think around 70% to 75% are actually long. So we've come up here. Look how long it chopped for, right? So it was up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, day after day after day. People were on the edge of their seats, like, we're going to break out. This is it. It's about to happen. And then what happened? Eventually, we actually started to slowly trickle down. And the price came all the way down. How much did it come down here? 21%. The price actually came down. So just be cautious. A lot of the time with these rising wedges, you have these parabolic moves to the upside, and then you have these crashes to the downside. The difference with this period of time is that you are actually at the start of a bull run. So you're actually not expecting price to come down to zero. So it's quite an easy trade, because even if you do short here, you're looking to get back in anyway, right? Because you know it's the start of the bull run. You know, 2023, the Bitcoin halving's come in. There's a potential ETF coming. it was an easy long hold anyway. So even if you weren't trading here, you're probably just going to hold your spot Bitcoin here regardless. The difference now is we're not at the start of a bull run. This isn't 2023. We've already had the halving. We've already had the ETF. We've already had the news. We've had the president of the United States saying, go out, buy stocks, go out, buy crypto. The president of the United States has launched a meme coin, right? Let's not forget how many things have happened this cycle, how many insane news events have happened this cycle. And what kind of news do we have approaching? What kind of news do we need? Are we now becoming reliant on news? Are we expecting more news to keep the price going up? And what happens when that news slows down? Because we have had a consistent flow of incredible news after strategic reserves being approved and all of these ETFs, right? So we're at resistance right now. So I have taken a short position. I'm a trader. We broke out of the wedge. We came to the target. I took profits and I am currently short. Now, can we push to the upside? Can we push to the downside? Absolutely, guys. If we go into price discovery here, there's no resistance. We're in all-time highs. We're in a blue sky breakout. There's no previous resistance. Nobody knows how high this can go because we are entering all-time highs. Now, stay and watch for the video because, you know, we're going to talk about if this happens and why it could be actually the top of the market. Now, second case, TA actually plays out. So technical analysis plays out. What happened last time we come out of this wedge? We actually went sideways for ages, teased everyone, and then we trickled down. Or do we get a fast reversal to the downside? It's also worth taking into consideration the stock market has been rallying and rallying and rallying. So why does that matter? Well, crypto still for now follows the tech stocks, especially the NASDAQ. And Nvidia has been pumping, Tesla's been pumping, everything's pumping. Donald Trump's been on the news saying go and buy stocks because everything's going to go up like a rocket ship, right? So we've had all of this FOMO and euphoria has entered the market. And, you know, that could potentially still carry us. But also what happens when the stock market goes up 20% in a short amount of time? Usually it's followed by some sort of reversal, right? Things don't just go up in a straight line forever. A lot of people have made a considerable amount of money in a very short amount of time. As you know, we took some profits up here. I said if we break our blue trend line, our blue bull run trend line, it's likely we're going to see a very sharp downside, and we actually had way faster than I was expecting. We actually crashed, I think we crashed around 20%. And, you know, everything tumbled, everything came down so fast. We went into extreme fear. When's the best time to buy, guys? Not in greed. The best time to buy is in extreme fear. And, you know, we really rallied 21% in a few weeks. Absolutely insane push to the upside. Okay, so we know that we're pumping, we're back in greed. How high can this go? I mean, look, we broke over the SMC weekly. We broke out of this broadening wedge. We broke over the 50-week moving average. We broke through previous resistance here. Sometimes you'll come back to the scene of the crime after these crashes, right? So we are clearly getting a V-shaped recovery. And I will admit, I didn't expect us to V-shaped recovery like this. I expected us to at least get some sort of cool down or pullback before we rally to the upside. But then we saw the China deal got agreed, well, temporary deal, down to 30%. I'm still trying to clarify whether that's 30% on top of the existing 20% tariffs, because then it's 50%. And as far as I'm aware and I've researched, it's 30% on top of the existing 20%. Okay, so a lot of people are saying, oh, it's 30%, it's only 10% more than what it used to be. But I don't know if that's the case. It might actually be 30% on top of 20%. And same with China. Their 10% might be on top of the existing 10% tariffs. So something I need to try and confirm. So we are V-shaped recovering, and this is potential the scene of the crime, all-time highs. So we do have some confluence. We have the previous highs. We have the previous resistance. Sometimes in TA, if you do get a V-shaped recovery, you come back to the scene of the crime before you see a reversal. And then we're going to be looking for supports, potentially supports, guys, or are we going to break down and then this actually acts as resistance and we look for new lows? Now, as you know, negative GDP was rolled out or came out for the economy for America, And the economy isn't looking amazing, right? You had negative GDP, yet the stock market is absolutely rallying. You have Trump on social media saying, buy stocks, everything's going to moon, we're doing all these deals and tariff deals. And it kind of feels like a news-orientated market, right? And we still have Powell, who is pretty much said, look, until we see more data, we're not going to make any decisions. We're not going to do any drastic rate cuts. So it doesn't seem like we're going to see a rate cut, maybe even this year, guys, right? Because if inflation data, the first batch of inflation data that we get is going to come out in June, late June, July, is where we should start seeing some of the impacts from tariffs. If the data turns negative, right, June, July, really, there's not much to trade off until that June July data comes out, and if it shows inflation is going up, then yeah, we're going to be in a sticky situation, and we don't know if we're going to see rate cuts. Right now, we might see a rate cut in September, but how far away is that, guys? Right? Typically, the bull run for BTC ends around September, October, November. Is that going to happen this year? Who knows? It's a very different cycle. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking at right now with the S&P, and we're going to have to watch how this plays out. Now, secondly, we've seen Ethereum really pumping, and if we look down here on the activity on Ethereum, we don't see active addresses increasing in activity pretty much at all, right? It's consistently flat. It's consistently sideways. Same with Solana. Solana obviously done much better this cycle. Solana took all of the adoption. We absolutely killed it on Solana, took some profits around 190, 250, and I've still got a moon bag left in Solana just in case it rallies. But again, if this market starts to break through some bull run support lines, I'll sell the rest of my moon bags. But yeah, overall, you can kind of see it trickling down, right? Still trickling down in terms of daily active users. Even in the pumps recently, we had a relief rally in terms of active users, but it's also starting to roll over again, right? Starting to roll over, starting to come back to the downside so soon, okay? So soon. So again, we see the prices exploding, but we don't see the active addresses increasing. That's a bit of a red flag. One of my favorite indicators, this is the smart money stablecoin balances. So this is the stablecoin balances of all of the smartest traders in crypto, okay? People who are smarter than me, smarter than most of the KOLs in the space, people who make the most money in crypto. This is why it's one of my favorite indicators. Who do I want to follow if I want to follow anyone? I want to follow the best of the best. And those are the people who make the money, right? Those are the people who get the inside information first. They get all of the data first, probably institutions and accounts that are very close to the Trump camp. And so far, this indicator has been absolutely phenomenal, okay? If you want to get these indicators, by the way, because Nansen does so many different things, right? I can't go into it on this, but if you want to get these indicators, head over to Nansen and use my code SMC for a discount and try out Nansen because it's phenomenal and I would never trade without it. It's insane. So clearly we can see what happens when we go into a bull run. Smart money starts to take profits, right? We can clearly see here we have a trend to the upside. They're taking profits. They're going into stable coins. What happens when we go into a bear market? Well, smart money, they're very smart. They don't buy greed, right? They actually start to buy back into the fear, right? When everything's fearful, when everyone's scared, they start to buy back into the market. And we can clearly see here, they started to run out of money, okay? What did we do in March 24? We actually started to take profits. That was my first dollar cost average out of the market on my portfolio. I think Render was like $12.30. It had done like a 25x. Casper had done a 25x. Solana was nearly up 10x. So many things had gone absolutely crazy. Why did I start to take profits? Well, basically, the smartest people in the space had run out of money, okay? So the whales, the institutions, the funds, the smart money, they had literally ran out of money. And shortly after that, we actually started to see profit taking, right? Because if you're an institution or a fund or a hedge fund manager and your clients are saying, how are we doing? How are we looking? Well, we're actually massively up. Well, deploy more. Well, we can't deploy more because we don't have any money left. Okay, well, you know what's coming next. After people run out of money, it's profit taking. And usually they've run out of money because the market's pumping, right? So we saw some profit taking. We actually flipped. We sold a lot of our portfolio. I started to move more into a trading phase around August, and I actually started to buy some bits. I did buy SUI spot. I did buy Ondo spot. I bought some bits spot. Okay, so I basically switched from my entire portfolio. I sold a lot of high risk altcoins here, and some of them just never came back. And like OLAS, I think we sold OLAS at like $7. I mean, the last time I checked OLAS, it was like 30 cents. Even now, I think OLAS is under $1. So I sold a lot of my high risks because we're coming to the end of the market, right? But I still bought some spot here, and I also took some long positions, and we could see the smart money was starting to buy back in to the market, right? They started to buy back in, and again, they started to take some profits. What did we do? We hit our DCA out to target. Again, the smart money had run out of stablecoin balances. This is not just what I was trading off. I was using this as a point of confluence, right? I was looking at so many different indicators: the fear and greed, the euphoria, searches for crypto went hot to all-time highs again. Apps started to go up in the App Store. Maybe 10 or 15 different indicators I was looking at. And I started to sell. And again, as we know, the whole market crashed again, right? We went back into extreme fear. What happened when we went back into extreme fear? I started to buy. We started to buy the dip. Everything was down. Everything collapsed. I think Solana came down from $300 to $100, right? So 65% corrections across the board. What happens in extreme fear? You tend to get bounces, okay? So I am swing trading, and I'm swing trading a lot of the time with the smart money, and we can see they've done the same thing here last cycle, guys. They took profits here, they were taking profits, they bought back into the market aggressively. Look how aggressively they sold, they bought back in, they sold, they bought back in, they sold, they bought back in. Very aggressive swing trades because there's a lot of money to be made here, right? If you think we bought Solana at around $100, it's already at 180, right? It's nearly doubled in price. And if you took that on leverage, you absolutely made a lot of money. So some of these small moves in Solana, like someone is up $50 million in a couple of weeks just by buying that dip on Solana. So the smart money are always going to take advantage of these crashes and these pumps, and they are likely to take profits because why? They've just sat through this complete crash, right? They've just sat and watched Solana come down 65%. Do you think they're going to sit around and hold and hope? Of course not, right? They're going to take profits. So very interesting data. The smart money, once again, are almost at the euphoria stage, and they have almost emptied their stablecoin balances. Now, I'm going to guess that they're not going to sit on empty stablecoin balances for the next 3 months, hoping that everything goes to the moon. I would guess that they're about to enter profit-taking phase, which means that the market is likely to come down, because this isn't a few 100K here, guys, right? This isn't 50K buyers. We're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars has just come into altcoins. And this is not Bitcoin either, right? This is Ethereum. This is altcoins. And yeah, we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars that's just flooded back into the market. Right, fear and greed index. Very, very important indicator. Really, really like this. What happens when we go into greed? What happens when we go into these blue zones? The blue zones are actually extreme greed, okay? Very rare that you do go into them, but when you go into them, it's usually swiftly followed by a crash to the downside. So we go into the greens, the market has a pullback. We go into the oranges, reds. It tends to be the bottom, right? We tend to push to the upside. We go into greens, we have a crash, we have a pullback. We go into the yellows, orange, red. We push to the upside. Back down here, look where we came to the oranges and red back in August. This is where we started to buy Ondos, where we started to buy SUI. SUI was 0.85. It rallied all the way up to $5. What happened? We went into extreme greed. We went back into the blues. We came to the downside. We started to buy again. We came into the reds and oranges. You don't have to be smart in this space. Actually, if you traded purely off this fear and greed index, you made a lot of money, right? If you sold in the green blues and you bought in the orange reds, you made a considerable amount of money, okay? And if you're using all of the other indicators as well, you're just increasing your odds in this game, right? Where are we today? We're back in the greens, okay? So we're back in the greens. Are we at blues? Absolutely not. We're very, very close to hitting that blue range, though. Look how close we are to crossing over into extreme greed. And hey, if we have another bullish day on the stock market, I would actually be quite surprised if we're not crossing into this blue zone. The beautiful thing about this, guys, is if we do cross into that blue zone, we have some beautiful confluence here, right? If we go into extreme greed, we've had a V-shaped recovery into the scene of the crime, back to all-time highs, another triple top or double top. Beautiful confluence for a trade here. So really, really lining up nice. Can we go higher? Absolutely. We could go into blue. Now, do we have to go into blue for the market to reverse? Absolutely not. What happened here? We kind of tapped the blue. We crashed to the downside. We kind of tapped the blue, crashed to the downside. Green here down, green here down. So, green here was actually a massive, massive correction here. I say massive, massive in terms of smaller time frames. We don't have to go into the blue, but more often than not, blue makes it a much safer trade. One thing about trading is I don't have to take every trade. Sometimes I'll just wait for a position of strength. If I do think we might see a correction, maybe because we're at the top of the wedge on BTC, then if we're at the top of the wedge, we might see a correction just based on pure TA. Then maybe I'll take a smaller position, right? If we go into extreme fear, if we go into this blue zone and we come up to the all-time highs on the S&P and everybody is mega bullish on socials and everyone's frothing at the mouth to buy and Trump is saying buy, 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 then I would normally take a bigger position, right? I'd normally take a bigger short position because we have more confluence, we have more data, especially if the smart money continue to really deplete their balances. If they come back to these levels, like March 24, pretty much mark the bottom, the top, the local top. December, January, pretty much marked the local top. We had a huge crash. Then we would have so much confluence, and then I would add more to my position, right? Don't forget, guys, I'm trading with small amounts of profits. I've taken profits from the bull run. I'm trading with very small amounts. And, if I have confluence, yes, I'll take larger size, but it will still be under 5%. I'm not going to go and put 10%, 25% of my portfolio in because, as you know, I'm more of a long-term swing trader. I like to buy in the bear markets and sell in the bull run. And right now, we're not in either of those, right? We're kind of coming to the end of this market. So let's have a look at this indicator. So this is the active addresses on BTC. Now, this is very unusual. And this time, we can say this time's different, right? Very, very dangerous words to be saying this time is different. But we can clearly see something is different about this cycle. Now, we can see here, this basically marks the active addresses. Now, the black line is the price. The price goes to the upside. The active addresses nukes to the upside, right? Or pumps to the upside. Price comes down into a bear market. Active addresses drop aggressively into a bear market. Price goes up. Active users go up. We go into a bear market. Active users go into a bear market. Now, what happened here is the price kept going up. Price kept going up, price kept going up, but the active users has dropped aggressively, extremely aggressively, more aggressively than we've ever seen. And we're almost back to these levels over here, right? 2018 levels, right? So something, we're seeing a breakaway here from price and active addresses. Now, this could be a variety of different things. Retail basically maybe had enough and took profits because, BTC was 16K. A lot of people made a lot of money. We'd been through one of the worst bear markets in history. A lot of people had PTSD. Some people were just happy making a 2x, a 3x, a 4x. Hey, if you turned your 10K into 40K, who is anyone to tell you not to take that? Maybe it helped you get a mortgage. Maybe it helped you buy a new car. Maybe you were just happy with taking a 3 or 4x or whatever you made, right? I'm not going to judge anyone, but that might be one of the reasons that we had a drop off. Secondly, this might be retail going into an ETF. Now, that sounds crazy, right? Because we're not your keys, not your crypto. But it brings a lot of security with having an ETF, right? The system of having all these keys and, you know, having access codes on bits of paper and stuff, a lot of people don't like it. A lot of people will rather have their money in an ETF. A lot of people still trust the system, and they would rather have their money on an ETF that they can trade with. They can swap it out to US dollars, and it just makes it easy for them to trade with, right? So we might have seen a lot of people switching over to that. Secondly, they might just have we might just see a drop off in active users, right? We know the searches drop for Bitcoin. People might just be waiting for next cycle. People are also studying a lot more about bull runs and bear markets, and we also might see retail just saying, hey, I've seen this movie before, I've been here, I've seen the FOMO, I've seen the euphoria, I'm actually taking profits. We had a real big drop off around 57, 67k. So they might be like, hey, I've seen this movie before. And that was actually previous all-time high, right? And a lot of people might have expected Bitcoin's price to maybe triple top or reject at that. So, yeah, you know, you can't blame people. They've been through a lot. They've been through a lot of FUD and fear. It is an emotional roller coaster. And, you know, I had my eyes on 100k and we pretty much got there. I think it still can go higher, but I think there is also a chance that we could top at any time. Okay, there is a chance we could top at 100k, 110k, 120k. There's also a chance we could go up to 160k. But as you guys know, I've already hit my DCA out target too. I'm kind of on the camp of I've made a lot of money. I'm waiting for the bear market, right? I know most of the gains are made in the bear market. Most of the gains aren't made up here at 105k, right? So very interesting data nonetheless, okay? So where am I planning to buy? Well, this is a really cool indicator, right? The CVDD. Every time we've got close to this orange line, it's pretty much marked to the bottom of the bear market, okay? So we got down here back in 2018, bottom of the bear market. Back down here, 2020, bottom. Back down here, even in the last cycle. So this is very important because even in the last cycle, with Elon Musk buying institutional adoption, we still came down to this orange line or just above it. You could pretty much say it got front run, right? Just above it. Are we close to this orange line right now? Absolutely not. We are so far away from this orange line, which says to me we have potentially a very, very long way down, which a lot of people are not prepared for, and it's going to surprise a lot of people. We're a long way down. Now, does history always repeat? Absolutely not. Is this a consistent chart? 100%. Very, very consistent. And, you know, we can see here time and time again, we've hit this level. I'm going to use this as confluence. Am I going to wait for Bitcoin's price to come down to this level? I'm going to be looking at all of my indicators, right? I'm going to be looking at on-chain activity. I'm going to be looking at the smart money stable coins. I'm going to be looking at the S&P. I'm going to be looking at everything, looking for confluence, including the fear and greed indicator, looking for confluence, trying to nail the bottom of the bear market. As we did this cycle, we started to accumulate down here. Render was like 50 cents. It went to $12. Solana was $23. It went to $300. Casper done like a 30x. I think Casper even today, Casper might be up 15, 20x from our initial buy, right? Even in this altcoin crash. So that's how powerful accumulating in the bear market can be. And I really have my eyes set on this bear market, right? I've already taken loads of profit. I've got so much money to buy the crash, to buy altcoins, to buy Bitcoin. Who knows? Maybe even I'll buy Ethereum if it's looking juicy enough, if it comes down enough. So I love this indicator, and I'm looking forward to see where this comes down. We're also going to be able to work out a rough bottom, because as this gets closer and closer to this orange line, we can work out where we're going to be. And we know as this level climbs up, it's currently sitting at around 30,000. Sorry, where is this price sitting? Yeah, it's currently sitting around the 30,000 mark. So I will say right now, I don't think Bitcoin is ever going to drop below 30,000. I don't think it's going to come to 30,000. If it does drop below this orange line for the first time, ever, that's fine, right? If I buy at $40,000 and it drops below, that's fine. I'll just keep buying more, right? It's absolutely fine. But as we get closer and closer to this orange line, for me, it's going to be, a place to accumulate. The problem with this is Bitcoin's price could continue to rally to 150, hey, maybe 160, 170K. Nobody knows. I would be surprised, but nobody knows. And this orange line is going to keep going up and up and up. And it is possible, guys, that this orange line actually climbs all the way up to 50, 60K. If that is the case, and we enter a bear market and price comes down to 50, 60K and it lines up with this orange line, I'm happy to buy at 50, 60K, okay? Because it's been so consistent over and over again, I'm not going to fade the data, right? Another, this is net unrealized profit and loss. What happens when we went into the green zone back in 2018? We entered the green zone, actually marked pretty much the start of the bear market, okay? We rallied into the green zone and then we hit this tiny bit of blue here. We only just went into this blue though, and the blue actually marked the exact top. So, congratulations if you nailed that. Where was the best time to buy? Shock, horror, extreme fear. When everyone was scared, retail was selling at a loss, everyone was dumping. People were actually dumping. Couldn't you believe people were dumping Solana at $10 and it went to $300? Imagine how sick you would feel knowing that you missed out on a 30x. Where was the best time to sell? We went back into green. We had a massive crash. Where was the best time to buy? Orange, red. Where was the best time to sell? Green, right? Best time to buy? Bear market, orange, red. Are we at the best time to buy right now? No. Are we miles away from it? Absolutely. Are we expecting blue top of the market? Yes. Is it guaranteed that we're going to see blue top of the market? No. Have we seen green top of the market with no blue before? Yes. Okay. So do you see here what I'm trying to say to you guys? How dangerous this market is right now. And if it's your first cycle, you have not witnessed how fast this market can crash, how fast it can capitulate, and how bullish everyone is at the top of the market. People at the top of the market, including socials, KOLs, experienced KOLs who have been in the market for 5 years, are extremely bullish at the top of the market and can trap a lot of people into thinking that we're going to see much higher. And I don't think they're malicious. I think they genuinely are unable to zoom out and look at the bigger picture and are too focused on or consumed by greed and too focused on the short-term picture. And the market will wreck you very, very fast, okay? The market will suck the life out of you. And you'll be in a bear market thinking back, man, Donald Trump launched a meme coin. He was literally on the news saying, buy stocks, everything's going to go to the moon. And I didn't see it at the time, but now on reflection, I can see it was the time to sell. It was the time to take profits, right? Now, I'm not a financial advisor, guys. Do your own research. Investing in crypto, investing in stocks is highly risky. You can lose all your money investing in anything, and especially crypto is high risk, okay? So you should always do your own research if you are planning to trade. But this is just my strategy. This is just what I'm doing. I am being patient, right? The whole game is a transfer of wealth from the from the impatient to the patient. And a lot of retail FOMO in these green zones. A lot of retail come in, a lot of even institutional FOMO right now, right? And the institutions will just buy all the way down. Personally, I think, yes, the institutions are buying, but I think we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg from their buys. They're not stupid, right? They have access to charts like this, and they love data. Institutions love data like this, and they will be looking at this going, hey, statistically, we're buying at the worst time. That's fine. We'll just put in 3% of what we want to put in. We'll just allocate small amounts, and when the price comes down, we'll go in with heavier bags, right? We'll start to load up. That was my speculation of how a hedge fund manager or an institution maybe giving advice to some of these companies would trade this market, as opposed to buying it historically one of the worst times to ever buy. Okay, this video is going to be long, but guys, I just hope I'm getting this message across to you clearly, that we're in a very dangerous time in this market. So just 1 month ago, extreme fear, everyone was bearish. Now back in greed, everyone is bullish again. It's absolutely crazy. Never ceases to amaze me. Be greedy when others are fearful. Be fearful when others are greedy, okay? We've talked about the fear and greed, so I'm not going to keep banging on about it. Really cool chart. You've probably seen this. It's basically highlights the different emotions that you go through. Hope, optimism, belief, thrill, euphoria. It kind of feels like we went through that euphoria stage and potentially entering complacency, right? We're at, all of these indicators are telling us we're at the end of the market, yet we're still saying higher, higher, everything's going to rally, everything's going to moon. And, we're entering that stage now where we haven't had that capitulation. If you were here last cycle, you've been so blessed this cycle. It's one of the easiest cycles we've ever had. You had BlackRock launch an ETF and shill literally everyone. They were literally saying sell gold and buy Bitcoin. You had all of these ETFs. You had President Trump launch a meme coin, which got even more retail into the crypto market. You've got Trump saying buy, holding Bitcoin meetings. He spoke at the BTC conference, right? It's been the easiest cycle that you've ever been blessed with. And you haven't seen what you can go through in a bear market. If it's your first cycle, we didn't even see a 40% correction, right? 40% corrections are normal in crypto, and we literally had a 30% correction recently, and a lot of people again lost their minds and started to get scared and say it's over. It's been incredibly easy, an easy ride. What the dangerous thing now is, people have not seen a 40% correction. So what happens when we go into a 40% correction, guys? People are going to absolutely cack themselves. And I think, especially a lot of the new investors who came in through the ETFs, they're not used to it. They're not used to how it feels. And, to watch their portfolio go down 30-40% in a couple of weeks, I don't know if they're going to capitulate. And I think a lot of them are going to capitulate, because we know there was a lot of ETF selling, actually, even at 100k. People who bought at 100k were selling at 90k. So imagine those people who were buying at 100k because Trump and BlackRock told you to, and then the price comes down 40%, and all of a sudden you're now down 40k or 400k, however much you put in. So we're still yet to go through this phase, and we're still yet to see how it goes. Now, I do think the pension funds and the institutions are just going to buy all the way down. Okay, they're not going to start buying at 90k and 100k without a long-term strategy to accumulate on the way down. I do think that they are probably only put in very small percentages. They're not like Michael Saylor and just absolutely going bonkers near the top. I think that they are smart people. They have smart investment fund managers who will be advising them, hey, save the dry powder for the red days, and take profits. Well, not take profits, but just accumulate on the red days. There's a lot of talk about the M2 money supply. Okay, I get it. BTC has followed the M2 money supply almost to the T. It's almost scary how well it follows. But there is two types of M2 money supply floating around, okay? So I try not to be too bullish. I try not to be too bearish. You have to be quite self-aware. I am leaning towards buying in the red, right? As you've seen in the fear and greed. I want to be buying when the whole market is red again. For me personally, I don't think it's strategically a good time to hold too much of my portfolio, which is why I sold around 75%. But this M2 money supply for the bulls it's a nice indicator, and BTC could potentially follow up with the M2 money supply up to 150, 160k. I hope it does. I don't want anyone to lose any money, and I want those who really believe and take the risks to print as much money as possible. I've made enough for me personally, and now I'm focused on the crash, the bear market, and there's two types of these floating around, and I'm sharing both, right? Even though I'm leaning towards more downside coming sooner than most think, maybe June, July, when the bad data starts to roll out, I will still share both of these, because I'll still say to you, we could rally, we could come down, right? Nobody knows. Who knows when you've got BlackRock and the president shilling all of the crypto, right? Who knows if America are about to roll out a strategic reserve in the next few weeks, right? Nobody knows. So have a strategy for either outcome is how I always trade. I have a strategy if we go up, I have a strategy if we go down. Just because I sold my portfolio, it doesn't mean I can't take a trade as well, right? It doesn't mean I can't take a trade. It doesn't have to be on leverage. I could use 1x, 2x leverage. It doesn't mean that there's not going to be opportunities for me to make money if the market continues to rally. It just means that I had a strategy to buy in the bear market and take profits in the bull run, and I've done that. And I don't want to be greedy. I don't want to get consumed by greed, and we're going higher, we're going to see more. And I don't want to look at some of my investments were like up 100 grand. I don't want to look at that 100 grand and be like, oh, if I just 2x this, it's going to be 200 grand. Because I've been there before, and I held on to greed, and I lost a lot of my gains that I could have taken, right? Because I held on to this greed. And it's hard to see if it's your first cycle. You kind of have to lose to learn, and losing is one of the best things that you can do in this space. I know that sounds crazy, but it really is, guys. I lost a few $1,000s. Well, don't forget, I started trading with $100 here. I was taking $100 trades. I think my entire portfolio size was like 2.5 grand. And in my first cycle, and I was taking $100 trades, and I eventually ended up losing thousands. Like it sounds ridiculous to me now because I'm putting on like 10, 20k trades, but I was putting on like $1,000 trades, few $1,000 trades, and I lost, and I was depressed, and I was miserable, and I was so emotional, and I was like, "You're such an idiot. Why didn't you take profits?" And you kind of have to go through all of those emotions and lose to really get this strict discipline of, hey, I've made enough. I'm going to wait. I'm going to be patient. I'm going to see what happens. The data suggests that in time, I'm going to be in a much favorable position to accumulate. Fear and Greed Index, we're back in greed. Historically, we know what comes next. I've talked about fear and greed enough. I won't keep banging on about it. Now, I just mentioned, didn't I, saying that there's going to be opportunities to trade. Now, I shorted Ethereum around 3,500 around the Grayscale ETF launch. Why? Because Grayscale it was obvious Grayscale were going to dump their bags. They'd not had access to sell those gains. Everybody was in huge profits. They had way too much Ethereum. And what happened on launch? They literally dumped. Now, Ethereum came down too much. It came down like 65% or something crazy. And I was looking for a reversal. The S&P hit a bottom. Pretty much when the S&P hit a bottom, it was a no-brainer to take some trades. And the SMC bot gave us a buy signal on the daily as well. So ended up taking a long. Look, I could have held this longer, absolutely, but I made $18,000 in a couple of days. I'm happy, right? So this is another lesson. It's about what you're happy with, okay? It's about how much you're trying to make. For me, a 9x in a couple of days. Some people are just trying to make a 10x in a bull run, right? So I'm happy with a 9x. Could it have gone up 15x, 20x, 30x? Absolutely. Can it still go up that? Yes, but I'm happy with the gains. I risked a small percentage. I made 9 times that amount back. That gives me 9 more trades that I can take, right? So let's say I put 1% into that ETH trade. It made a 9x. I now have 9 1% that I can go and trade with, right? 9 1%. And I can lose, let's say I lose that 1%. I'd have to be extremely unlucky to lose the entire 1%. It's possible. Maybe I short Bitcoin with 105k with that 1%. I lose. Fine. I've still got 8 lives because I just made a 9x on Ethereum. I'm going to go and short, I don't know, I'm going to short Solana. Right, I lost. Okay, well, I've got 7 lives left because I just made a 9x on that trade. Right, I lose. Great. I got 6 lives left. And bear in mind, guys, I'd have to be absolutely a terrible trader to go and lose 3 trades in a row with no stop loss, okay? So this is taking into account that I don't have a 30% stop loss. So if I lose this trade and I have a 30% stop loss, I've still got 0.7% left, okay? 0.7% left. So do you see what I mean? I could actually turn these 9 lives with stop losses into what? 30, 40, 50 trades. 50 lives to take more trades. So I don't go in, if I make a 9x and I now have, let's say I put 10k into that trade, I now have 90k. I don't go and take a 90k trade, right? I keep to the small amounts so that I can't go and get wrecked. I can't go and lose. I'm playing the odds. I'm playing the statistics, because at some point I'm going to be wrong, and I've been wrong in the past, and I'll be wrong again. Fortunately, my win rate is around 72%. Okay, so seven to 8 times out of 10, my trades are going to be right, and then around 30% potentially are going to be wrong. So it's about playing the probabilities for me personally. Where are we? Okay, so we have done the M2 supply. Meme coins I flicked past, but again, meme coins are rallying. Sometimes this is what happens at the end of a market. Okay, so not only are we entering extreme, well, not quite extreme greed, but we're in greed. Meme coins often rally. Now, another thing that happens towards the end of the market is Ethereum always rallies. So ETH rallies, meme coins rally, and NFTs rally. And, I might even dabble into some NFTs, because last cycle, it was actually the NFTs running that marked the very top, because meme coins started to crash, crypto started to crash, altcoins, utility coins started to crash, and everyone is filled with this euphoria and they want to gamble. Everyone's just made so much money, right? We got Solana at $23. It's now, it went up to $300, right? Everything's up 10, 20x. Everyone's made all this money. BTC's hitting all-time highs. Ethereum might even go up and hit all-time highs. Who knows? But what I'm trying to get at is everything rallies and everyone wants to gamble. Everyone wants to keep going. There's this adrenaline. Everyone misses the adrenaline and they go and look for the next thing. And NFTs could run, right? NFTs could rally. If you see NFTs go ballistic, that's another massive red flag for this market, okay? So as you see, huge gains still to be made just by trading. Did I have to hold Mudeng? Absolutely not. I waited for the SMC bot to give us a buy signal, and the SMC bot gave us a buy. Mudeng USDT. The SMC bot gave us a buy signal. Damn, look at that Mudeng pullback. The SMC bot gave us a buy signal all the way down here. I think I got in late. I got in around, I say late, I got in around here somewhere. And I made a 71x in a short amount of days. I posted in my Discord that it was potentially about to take off, because we could see the volume was just going crazy. And meme coins were starting to really pick up. All the smart money started to buy meme coins. You see this... stablecoin deployment here. Most of it was going into Ethereum and meme coins, which it leads me to believe, do they know that we're about to come to the end of the market, and they know that this happens at the end of the market, and that's why they started to buy Ethereum and meme coins? It almost like becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Really, really interesting. So again, I made a 71x. Now, two things I want to say about this. It was incredibly high risk because it was 50x, right? I think I put about $1,000 on this trade, which to me is around 0.1%. So it's not even 1% of my portfolio. It's 0.1%, okay? So if you have a portfolio of $1,000, okay, it's like you putting on a $1 trade, right? It's like you put in $1 on 50x, and you would have made $71 from that $1. Okay, so your risk was losing $1, but you would have made $71, and it was like literally in a day. I think it was 1 or 2 days. There was $71, but money makes money. So $1,000 would have been $71,000. Okay, it was 1 day that it rallied, I think. So in 1 day, I risked $1,000 and I would have made $71,000. It actually went higher. Okay, so it actually went up 200x. So I would have made $200,000 if I'd have held and not taken any profits. I would have made $200,000 in a single day. But again, we trade with trailing stop losses and stop losses so that we prevent ourselves from losing the 71k if you took 1,000 and didn't take profits. I think I actually ended up making around $40,000 because I set stop losses and took profits. So do you see what I'm trying to say? Money makes money. If I had have put $10,000 into that trade, I would have made $710,000 in a day or 2 days. Okay, tell me another market where you can make those type of gains in a very short amount of time. There's no other market. That's why meme coins are here. That's why people are still trading meme coins. Now, yeah, really, really crazy. And what I actually used to do first cycle is I would take more risk, because to really make it, you need capital. Money makes money. If you're trading with $1, if you're following my trade with $1, that $1 made you $71, but the 1K would have made me 71K. So do you see money makes money? And I knew when I was working and trying to save money to invest, I knew that I could make $1,000 every single month just by doing side hustles. I was working multiple jobs, and all of my extra income from the other jobs, I was trading crypto and I was putting it back into crypto. And I didn't care, because I had my first job, which was my main salary, which paid all of my bills. It paid for my car, paid for my lifestyle, whatever I want, food, going out for meals, whatever. And then my second job, I actually done 3 jobs at one point, but my second job was investment money, and I didn't care if I lost all of that. My second job was probably bringing in around 2K. So every month I was like, I'm just going to take some risks, because, I know that if I put this 1K into something that I think can rally, I can make 71K in a day. And hey, it done a 200x. So I could have made 200K in a single day, which would have changed my absolute life. Okay. Just by taking that call would have changed my life at the time, because 71K would have been a lot of money to me. And it would have helped me build a portfolio, right? I would have been able to buy Bitcoin. I would have been able to diversify. I would have been able to buy a whole Bitcoin. I would have been able to diversify into some lower risks, maybe buy some stocks, build a real nice portfolio, and then try and turn that 71K into 710K, a 10x, over the next cycle, right? On a more lower risk strategy. So that's just me. That's just how I traded. And, I hit gold on a couple of plays, and, that set me up and set me into this lower risk investor I am now, right? I'm still going to put 70 to 80% of my money into Bitcoin in the crash. Personally, last cycle, I didn't have nowhere near this, right? Nowhere near this last cycle. But the more I make, the more lower risks I will take, right? The more stocks, I'm actually buying a lot of stocks this cycle for the first time, which I'll post in my community. We've already been buying them. We've already flipped some of them. A D-Wave doubled in price. I've already taken my initial out of that, so it's a free money stock play now. So yeah. Okay, so don't forget, after shorting BTC at 105K, so we started to short in that last time we went into the greed zone. This is where I flipped bullish when shorts and fear reached all-time highs. I'm not smart, actually a bit of an idiot, but the data and human greed make it easy. So you can see here, you see where I pointed the arrow. I said, when we come down to this level, look at this SMC bot, it's crazy. When we come down to this level, it's likely we're going to bounce, right? We came down to this level, we bounced. Down to this level, we bounced. Down to this level, we bounced. So I said here, we aren't quite there yet. We were literally almost there. And then the following week, we actually came down to the level. We aren't quite there yet, but keep an eye on it. It would be absolutely beautiful if we push this trend line and BTC comes down to support. Would be huge conviction on longs, spot buys, stock leverage, and crypto. And we came down, and what happened? The rest is history. We completely rallied, right? And actually, at that exact level where we started to buy, shorts reached all-time highs. People were shorting the actual bottom of that crash, which is phenomenal. And the same thing happens when you come down to euphoria. We're nearly back at the euphoria. We're nearly back at extreme greed, and everyone's long again, right? I don't get it, because these are people who have been in this market for a very long time. And everyone, they see green candles, they see euphoria, they see Trump on the news, and they get bullish and they buy back into the market. It never ceases to amaze me. So yeah, it's been phenomenal cycle, guys. I posted this on my X recently about sort of where we are in the market, and it's just really just trading the swings. Like I don't really swing trade until BTC hits all-time high. So I buy in the bear market, and then when BTC hits all-time high, I kind of start to take profits and move more into swing trading. But it's been relatively easy, right? It's been relatively easy. We took profits here in the first pump. We came up to all-time high. I said, guys, as soon as we hit all-time high, I'm going to take some profits from my altcoins. This was actually the top of many altcoins, and many altcoins have not returned back to those levels where we took. Like Render was $12.30 here. I think today it might be $5, right? So Render was $12.30 here, but it's $5 up here, and BTC has nearly doubled in price. So do you see what I'm trying to say? If BTC has doubled in price and Render is still down, you know, what's it going to take for it to get over 12.30? The RSI is nearly overbought again. What happened the last time the RSI was overbought? RSI was overbought here. Okay, more confluence, so much confluence. So we sold here. We started to take longs and buy back here. We sold here. We started to take longs and buy back here. Right, and I've started to enter some shorts here. I haven't gone crazy on the shorts because, you know, a lot of people are going to be shorting this level as well, and, you know, they might send it up, guys. I haven't entered crazy shorts at the moment, but I am shorting. I'm still shorting BTC. My ETH did hit its stop loss. I'm not prepared to keep shorting if these things start to break to the upside, but ETH did hit its stop loss. So just swing trading these swings. I've managed to make over $500,000 just trading these swing trades. You can see here, here's my long trade on BTC back when Trump won, $50,000. I also trade on BingX as well, so I had another trade on BingX, $90,000. It went even higher, right, because I think Bitcoin went up to $100,000. I posted in my Discord what I was doing. Very easy trade. If Trump wins, markets are going to pump. If Kamala wins, markets are going to dump. So very easy longs or very easy shorts, depending on whoever wins. Altcoins went absolutely crazy. $18,000 on Peanut, $41,000 on the long on Render. Trump launched a meme coin. So I said here, this is where I was looking. All-time highs, 100K was a big deal. This is where I was looking to take a short on the market. Trump made it easy, launched a meme coin. We reached peak euphoria. Everyone was bullish again. And I could see on chain the smart money was starting to sell aggressively. And I took profits on Trump, went and bought a Rolex. The price of Trump was $74. What's the price today? $15? I don't know. Be fearful when others are greedy. And everyone who held, even though I was saying it's likely going to dump, I'm entering shorts, everyone who held ended up losing most of their gains or went into losses, right? Because we were early at $22. So, you know, a lot of people probably bought at $30, $40, $50. And there was a lot of longs after me that I know got liquidated. So a lot of people lost a lot of money. Again, fear and greed, very easy to trade. So we started to short around the local top. And again, everything collapsed. Solana, I started shorting around 250. I took loads of trades. So it was 250, 234. I entered more shorts. Came all the way down to $100. Crazy. AI16Z crashed, melted. I actually sold my spot of AI16Z. It's like 150 or something. XRP, $20,000. Then we bought back in. So I see here I purchased 5% into spot Solana. I did take profits very early, but I was up so much. I was in so much profits. That again, it was enough for me, right? If you want to hold on to more, if you want to try and get more, that's absolutely fine. Don't forget, I'm trading with larger amounts now, guys. So if I make $100,000 or $200,000 in a couple of weeks, that's more than enough for me, right? I'm out. This isn't the bear market. I know I'm looking for a top of the market. I'm not planning to hold these when I'm looking for a top of the market. So yeah, ended some shorts again. BTC did come down to 101,000. I ended my short around 104, and it did come down to 101, but it's bounced back up to around 104 again. So it tried to go down, but not quite. So I'm still sitting in this short, and then my ETH short got stopped. I did actually take some profits off of this short because it did come down a bit further. I closed a little bit out, but it ended up getting stopped. Not on my copy trade, only on my DGen account. I took an ETH short. I didn't take a short on my BingX copy trade. If you're copying me, so you wouldn't have got exposed to that loss. I think we're nearly there, guys. Sorry it's been so long, but I hope you guys are learning. I've learned so much in the last 5 years. I kind of became addicted to this space, and obviously I've worked in the industry. I've worked at crypto exchanges. I've learned so much from so many people, and if I can pass that knowledge on to you guys, I just hope you can also pick some of it up too. I'm also dropping my course. I've just finished my first course, which is going to be beginner to pro. So if you'd actually like to learn from the start about how to trade these markets, keep an eye on that for those videos. There'll be a link coming out soon. And like and subscribe on the video, so on the YouTube video, so you don't miss out on any of those. So even though I'm swing trading a lot, my main strategy is to accumulate assets in the bear market, as I said to you guys, and then sell in the bull run. But it doesn't leave me with much options right now. The only options is to trade and swing trade, right? Because I'm looking for a crash. I'm waiting for a crash, and I don't really want to be holding too much into a crash because it can be down 50% in a week, and I don't really want to be holding huge spot bags that end up being down 50%, or I wake up maybe to 30% crash. So this is a post from 2023, back in the bear market when we're accumulating. Someone said, been here for just a little while, taking all the information in as I'm new to the crypto space. They're basically asking, when are you going to start taking profits? And I said, it's going to change depending on the macro, right? So there's never, people say, oh, what's your sell target? What's this target? Hey, if Pakistan go to war with India, things might change, right? The macro can change. If Trump comes out and launches tariffs on the whole world, things can change. Trump came out and cancelled the tariffs and had a 90-day pause with China. What happened? The market started to rally. Things can change. So there's never a black and white answer. It depends on the macro. What the smart money doing? What's the fear and greed? What's going on with retail adoption? What's going on with institutional adoption? There's so many different factors, so it can always change. But overall, buying in a bear market, I posted here, for now, I'm not really worrying until BTC hits all-time high, okay? That actually was probably the best decision I'd made because when BTC hit all-time high, many altcoins had actually topped. That's when I will hopefully take some profits off anything that has hit a 10x in returns. And obviously Casper was like 25x, Render was 25x. We'd massively surpassed the target. 10x was my conservative target. So you might hear me say, oh, I just want to make 10x next cycle. That's my conservative target. I'd rather have a conservative target rather than say, oh, I'm going to do 25x or 100x, So if it hits 10x or goes past that, happy days, but I still will hold it until BTC hits all-time high. Once crypto hits or BTC hits all-time high, then I'll look to take my first dollar cost average off the table, which is usually 30% or 33% of my portfolio. And sometimes I'll cut the high-risk altcoins, right? So I'll cut the high-risk ones, like OLAS, for example, was a really high-risk one. And then I will hold on to some of the lower-risk ones like Solana, Casper, Sui. So not sure when that will be. 100k is going to be a big level and many will take profits here. I expect we surpass that by a lot, but will be another level to DCA out for sure. So my second target to start taking profits was 100k. What happened at 100k? Solana hit all-time highs. So it's $300. And I think back here, 2023, it sounds easy to say this stuff, guys, but, back in 2023, Bitcoin was what, 20,000, 30,000? Solana was what, $20, $25? So, we've really, really nailed some of these predictions. And not only nailed them, we stuck to the strategy. We didn't get sucked into this euphoria, into this hope. We actually said, hey, we zoomed out. This is where becoming self-aware helps. Hey, maybe I'm a bit bullish. The last time we entered these kind of zones, it was near the end of the market and took some off the table. And I do really think that in 6 months, 12 months, we'll be looking back at this thinking, damn, thank God we took some profits. I expect we surpass that by a lot, be another level to DC out. Now, yes, I do suspect that we could potentially push up higher on BTC. We could also top here, right? Nobody knows. If we do go higher, I'll be looking 120, 130, 140, and I'll be looking at all the data, of course, for a correction. It's also likely it can top at around 100k, right? It's a massive psychological number. We can see that a lot of active users are dropping for the first time in history when the price is going up. So we can see here we actually have some really big divergence that I don't think we should sweep under the rug and ignore. I think we should actually look at it and say, there's a lot of strange indicators popping off that indicate that we might be coming very close to the end of this market. And I want to short the market, right? I want to short the top of the market. Why? Well, because I've made so many gains this cycle, right? So I can risk 1 to 5% of my gains trying to short, which gives me 5 tries, right? This is with no stop loss, okay? So let's say I risk 1 to 5, but let's say I risk 5% trying to short the top. That gives me 5 entries to try and short. And let's say I try and short BTC at 105k. It pushes to 110k, where I try and short 110k. It goes to 120k, where I try and short 120k. Okay, I've lost 3 times now. I've lost 3% of my portfolio, and I don't want to try anymore, right? I've risked 3%. I'm going to keep the other 97% for the bear market, which is a huge amount of money, a huge amount of your portfolio to save for the bear market, right? And let's say I keep going, and then on the 4th time I hit it. Let's say maybe I short BTC at 125k. If I'm right and BTC has at least a 50, 60, 70% correction, in the bear market, that short is going to print so much money, because obviously there's some leverage there too, right? It's going to print so much money, I could potentially make 20% back. So 20% of 10k, $200,000 if I take a 10k trade, depending on how much leverage you use, right? You've just seen I made 70x, so 70% on that mood daying trade, but that was on high leverage, right? That was on very high leverage. So depending on how much leverage I use, depending on how much I allocate, depends on how much I'll make. But for me, it's worth the risk. Would I risk 1, 3, 4%? Yes, absolutely, trying to short the top, especially if I can make 20, 30% back. And that would all go straight back into Bitcoin. And the beautiful thing about that is it pays you out in USDT, right? So it comes down, then you've got all of the USDT you saved selling in the bull run from your bull run bags from buying in the bear market. Then you've got all of this gains from this leverage trade as well. So, it could potentially, for me, be the opportunity to buy another 4 or 5 Bitcoin. Well, I'm going to take that opportunity because I definitely want another 4 or 5 Bitcoin. So yeah, this is what I'm waiting for, guys. This was the time. I mean, I wish some of you were in my Discord in the bear market, but I know a lot of you joined late. And, I really hope you are around with us for next cycle, because, I feel like we've done well this cycle, but I still feel like there was a lot of lessons learned. And the longer you're in this space, the longer you learn. I didn't have Nansen back here, right? I didn't even have Nansen back here. I've got on-chain data now, so it's just making everything so much easier, analyzing what all the smart money are doing and tracking all the activity, right? We could see, not only did we short Solana based on the fear and greed and the rest of the indicators, we could see this. We could actually go into their wallets and see that they were dumping $50 million, $70 million. And we could see that, other wallets were going to see that, and it becomes a chain reaction, right? If you're a whale of holding Solana and you've got $100 million and you see your mate sell 50 million, you're probably going to start to take some profits off the table, right? So it becomes a chain reaction. So here you can see 2022, I posted to say that I was buying Casper. Market cap is $50 million. I mean, look, let's go and have a look at the market cap of Casper. Even today, in this crappy altcoin crash, Casper is $3.2 billion market cap. And we bought at $50 million. So how much is that up today? I don't know. It's up. It's still up a lot even today. We got in so early, I don't even think it was listed on CoinMarketCap. Like, the price wasn't even listed. It wasn't any exchanges. We had to go into the actual web wallet to accumulate it before it got listed. So that is the power of being early in the bear market. That's where all the gains are made, and that's kind of what I'm focused on. Planning on doing the fundamental analysis, just as we did this cycle, right? We are very, very early. I couldn't have made it any more plainer. It's not even listed on any big exchanges yet, due to be released on a fairly big one at the end of the month. Very nice blockchain project, very wealthy and smart team with huge previous success. Market cap's 50 million. I would expect it to sit between 150 to 300 million in the bear market, given its fundamentals, right? So even in the bear market, I was saying 150 to 300 million. Long term, 30 to 60x potential, okay? And I'm pretty sure we hit the at least 30x potential. I don't know if it done 60x, but I know it went over 30x from where we got in. So amazing time to be accumulating some of these things. When they're down, when you're in the bear market, you know, it's such an easy ride, and you just ride it up to BTC all-time high. You don't even have to overthink it. You just sit and hold until BTC hits all-time high. Same with render, 2022, buy alert render, 54 cents, right? The rest is history, 20x, 25x. I can't wait for the bear market. Coinbase, buy alert Coinbase. This is fundamental analysis. This is something you want to work on if you're new. You want to work on fundamental analysis as you go into a bear market, because this is the only thing that really matters when you're looking to accumulate. 2023, January 2023, buy alert coin. Now, this is very important because a lot of people were saying to me, are you going to buy Coinbase? It just IPO'd. And I said, most IPOs go to the ground very fast, and it's not about buying the euphoria. Just like Coinbase has entered the S&P right now, right? It's not about buying the euphoria. It's not about getting sucked into FOMO. It's about waiting for a position of strength. And Coinbase absolutely melted. So I could have still been down today on Coinbase if I had got sucked into that euphoria and bought Coinbase on the IPO, because it's still not at its all-time highs, right? It's still down from its all-time highs. But we waited for them to sell. We waited for them to dump. We waited for them to sell off and to dump, and all the way back up here. Look, it launched. It was around 430 it launched, and the price today is 256. So there's a lot of people who actually bought up here who are still at a loss on Coinbase, but because we waited and we bought down here, right? We bought down here. Look at this as well. We had the green bottoms indicator pop off now. I didn't have this SMC green indicator, so it's good to see. You see over here where it says uptrend. It's good to see when this flags, it's sometimes the bottom of the market, and we actually ended up buying at $40, $45, somewhere around here. But yeah, this is going to be phenomenal, a cycle, because we have this indicator now as well. And you know, not only are we going to be able to use the rest of our indicators, but this is going to give us bottom signals. Did it give a couple of top signals? We did have a yellow top signal here. A yellow top signal here did come back. This yellow, the green one is more consistent than the yellow, because look how the green doesn't appear again, right? We see it appear at the bottom, but we don't see it appear all the way at all, ever. But the yellows will pop up. So I'm treating these yellows as short-term short trades, but I'm taking profits on them. And the green I'm going to be using at the bottom of the bear market. When we go into a bear market, I'm going to be using this to spot bottoms and to accumulate stuff. So fundamental analysis, very, very important. Done a small DCA into Coinbase, 10x from its all-time high, just settled with the SEC for 100 million. Many competitors going into liquidation. So I was expecting loads of exchanges to go down, which a lot did, especially after the FTX collapse. Only publicly listed exchange has been audited by a top 3 auditor. Very important, because Binance were actually refusing to be audited. They avoided the USDT issues because they started to migrate to USDC, so they reduced risk. A lot of other exchanges had USDT, which put them at some risk. Binance, number 1 competitor, under fire from the government and wanted by many regulators. Now, I nailed that, because what happened after this was back in January 2023. The regulators actually came after CZ and locked him up, right? Which was bullish for Coinbase. More people thought, I don't know about BNB. I'm gonna focus on Coinbase. Kathy Wood from ARK Invest was actually buying millions higher than us, right? So I love to get in cheaper than the smart money, cheaper than the institutions. If they're buying at $100 and I'm looking at $40, I'm happy, right? Because I know I got in cheaper than the smart money. Just fired 1,000 employees. Now that sounds bad, but actually when companies start to fire their employees, it's really bullish for a company. You kind of strip the fat from the company. I hate to refer to people as fat, but sometimes when you get rid of people, things run more efficiently, and you've not got all this excess and costs, and you learn how to streamline processes. And companies normally, actually, their profits do very well after they go through these processes. Done a small, we may see more downside, so I've done a small DCA, many more to come. Okay, so really, really nice. Coinbase, I don't think I'm going to sell Coinbase ever, because if we know BlackRock are using Coinbase, we know everyone's using Coinbase, all of the ETFs and stuff. So if Coinbase have now entered the S&P, and let's say our goal for BTC is to reach $1 million, which I think it's going to surpass by a lot. I think it's going to go way past $1 million eventually. But short term, the target for me personally of BTC is $1 million. Why would I sell Coinbase? Right? Because if BTC goes to $1 million, Coinbase and these exchanges are going to hold so much money. And I don't think being let into the S&P is a very big deal. And I don't think that would have happened without, without some long-term conviction. And I don't think BlackRock would have used them as a custodian if they didn't have some long-term conviction. And I think everyone can see here, if BTC does well, Coinbase is going to do phenomenally well. So I don't think, I am a swing trader and I do sell most of my portfolio in the bull market, but I'm not going to sell Coinbase, guys. I don't think it's worth it. I do think we are probably going to see corrections on Coinbase when Bitcoin crashes. And if we see a 50, 60, 70% correction, I might buy more. I'm not planning to buy more Coinbase right now, especially not in this euphoria. You see how everyone is FOMOing back in to coin now because of the S&P thing. I don't buy pumps and euphoria. I buy crashes and fear, right? This is where I like to accumulate, down here. And usually I would take profits up here. I'm literally telling you I think Coinbase is going to come down, and I'm not taking profits, but I'm doing the same on D-Wave. D-Wave I think is going to have a phenomenal cycle, and I did actually swing trade this. I bought down here on D-Wave, and I took profits here. And what happened? We came straight back down, and then I bought some more. So sometimes I swing trade to accumulate more. Because what happens is a lot of the time you'll come up 100%, you go down 50%, you go up 100%, you come down 50%. I'll never sell all of my bag of D-Wave or Coinbase. If we have like big 500% moves, I might sell 50% and try and look for a correction and then buy back more, right? Because if I actually did put in around 10k. I put in around 10k here, and then it went to 20k. So I sold 10k. So now I have 10k that's free money that I can't lose in D-Wave. And then I put 10k into another AI project, Rigetti. And then if that does a pump to the upside, I then take out my initial out of Rigetti, and hey, now D-Wave and Rigetti are completely free money, right? Even if they crash to zero, I can't lose because I took advantage of the volatility. Something I talked about in my course a lot more. Again, the whole strategy is in my course. So if you guys want that course, don't forget to come and follow me on X. So head over to my X account. Follow. If you want to join the Patreon, if you want to get involved with us, you can see the link here. You also get the SMC bot as well, which gives you buy and sell signals. Yeah, you can get involved with us. You can see our Discord, all my buy and sell alerts. We've got all of the smart money linked to the Discord, so we get notified in real time when the smart money are buying and selling stuff. That's pretty much it. Don't forget to like and subscribe on the video to stay up to date with the latest, guys. Head over to my X, drop a follow there if you want to stay up to date with all the latest. Absolutely crazy cycle. Look at this, man. It's one of my wallets this cycle. It's just been phenomenal, man. It's been phenomenal. I can't wait for the next cycle. I mean, if I can 10x this, just dream come true, man. I mean, it's already become a dream come true this cycle, but I feel like I'm getting better. I feel like I'm getting smarter. I'm trading smarter. I'm trading with more discipline, and I'm really confident I'll be able to try and 10x this plus next cycle, and that's the villa. That's the villa done, guys. Yeah, that's it. Don't forget, like and subscribe. Until then, I will catch you in the next one.